Hi, it's Dre Griggs with Live City and Wisdom. Today we'll be answering the question, what are the 7 steps of financial planning? When it comes to financial planning, the way you want to think of it is there is a goal that I have to achieve and I want to have a plan to do it. That's ultimately what a financial plan is. Now, along the way, we have to decide many different things between what the investments that we should take, how long that plan should be realistically for me to achieve it, how much money do I have to allocate every month or every week or every year towards it. There's lots of questions that come into it, but very high level, a financial plan is just that. It is a plan for your finances to achieve certain goals that you have for yourself. And those goals could be anything from a house to a baby to a car to retirement, the legacy that you want to leave your kids to starting a business. Really, anything that you would allocate money towards, it would be good for you to have a financial plan to know exactly when, where, and how to move that money. So that leads us into the first step. And the first step is to really understand your client's goals. That is for us as fiduciary advisors where we want to understand you and your needs. If you're making the plan yourself, then you want to understand yourself and your needs. This is going to be done with open-ended questions, closed-ended questions, just a variety of questions. Some will be quantitative, where we're talking about the numbers and the nuts and the bolts. Some of them will be qualitative, where we're talking about the emotions and the goals and the dreams. But you really have to have an understanding of both to put a good financial plan together. So on the open-ended, I may ask you, what does retirement look like for you? On the qualitative, I may say, how do you feel about retiring in your 30s? If I wanted to ask closed-ended questions, I may say, how much do you want to spend in retirement each month? There are lots of different questions that will help me to be able to understand you and your needs, so that way when I'm making recommendations, they make sense to you. The biggest problem I see is that there are lots of people trying to manufacture problems for their solutions, where they have one or two solutions and they have to be able to find people that fit in that box. The way I would describe it is if you've ever seen like a baby where they have like those blocks and they have like triangles and blocks and circles, and then they're given like certain little shapes and they have to like pluck the shapes in each of them and it has to go in the correct one. And then sometimes the baby will be trying to like jam a triangle into the circle, but it doesn't really work. Or they'll be trying to put the circle in the square and it doesn't quite fit. Well, sometimes if they bang it hard enough, it goes through every so often. And that's how I feel about financial planners that are just focusing on getting rid of their solutions, even though they don't know if the person has that problem. And so I think it's very important that you start with understanding what it is that your success looks like, how retirement looks, what your goals are, your emotions as far as investing. And then when you create the plan, it is designed exactly to your liking. Number 2 is identifying and selecting goals, and it's just as it sounds. Once you have the starting position where you understand how much money you have today, how much money you'll need in the future, and when you understand certain things about your emotional appetite and whether that is the investing aspect of it, or if you're really interested in real estate, or you really feel really good about gold, or you want to start a business, whatever that looks like, once you have that understanding of yourself, we can then say, okay, based on everything we've gone over, let's start putting them in order of importance. So we'll say, okay, these are the 5 things that I really think are very important to accomplish. But then you may say that these other 5 would be icing on the cake. So we prioritize your goals. And then as an advisor, I'll help you select which ones I think makes the most sense based on the overall picture that we have, where this goal seems to be aligned with the family legacy that you want to leave, and this one seems to be important for your traveling and your health, where we work together to make sure that we're identifying the goals that match exactly what it is that you want so that you're able to accomplish your goals long term. Now, the other aspect of that is we have a list of goals, but all of them can't be accomplished at the same time. Some goals we can accomplish in a year. Others may take 5, and some may take 10, 15, 20 years. So we often will take the time to say, all right, based on this list of goals and the priorities that I have, how many years do I expect it to take for me to accomplish this? Now, some of them is going to be based on your time frame, right? Like you may say, I really want to travel. Well, how much are you going to be able to allocate towards work, and how much are you going to be able to take off from work? How much money can we put aside each month to be able to go towards this goal? And then we're able to say, okay, based on that information, this should be a 5-year goal, where we work together to make sure it makes sense for you. But we want to make sure that the goals are aligned with the understandings that you have of yourself, and then you're really able to move nicely into step 3, which is just analyzing your current course of action. So, what have we done so far to accomplish this goal? Have we been dabbling in investments in the market or investments within businesses or in the real estate? What is it that you have been doing so far? How much of your income have you been allocating towards this? Is it $50 a month? Is it $100 a month? Is it $1,000 a month? How much money have you been putting towards this? And I often like to see what that looks like as a percentage of your income because I think it really gives a better picture. Because sometimes the dollar amount may feel low or it may feel high, but when you know it as a percentage of your income, it really kind of, I don't know, it kind of levels everything out where it just makes the most sense where you're saying, okay, I'm allocating 5% of my income towards this goal that I have for myself. How does that make me feel? I'm allocating 25% of my income towards this goal I have for myself. How does that make me feel? Or I'm allocating like 1.5% towards this goal. How does that make me feel? Because each of us, we have different timelines. So it doesn't mean that any one of the numbers are really good or not so good. But I do think when you look at it from a percentage, it just really helps you to understand how much you're allocating, how much you're putting towards these life goals that you have set for yourself. And so, number three, often you want to make sure, hey, what is it that I'm doing? How is it working? How do I make it feel? Is there any tweaks that we can make to what you're already doing? Because if you're already doing something, then sometimes we can find what's called revenue neutral. And what that means is you have $100 going towards this account and you have $100 going towards that account. Well, what if we're able to reduce those two accounts by like $50 and then you put $100 towards your new investments where it's revenue neutral? You're still spending the same, $200 a month, but it's being allocated differently. Now, that doesn't always happen. Sometimes, and many of the times, we have to put more towards it. And then that's other things that we can do with the overall debt aspect of it, which we won't really peel back too much of the onion in this particular video. But sometimes if you're able to consolidate debt or if you're able to get better interest rates or refinance certain debt, you're able to free up some of that money, what we would call cash flow, and allocate it towards your goal while making the same payments that you already were. And sometimes you're able to work it in a way that, okay, well, I don't have the money that I want now, but when I get the raise, that entire 3%, 5%, 10% is going to go towards my investments because I have the plan in place. So now I know where to put my money when I have extra money. And so there's lots of ways to look at it, but you want to make sure that you're understanding your current course of action so that you know if there's any tweaks that you need to make or if you need to make a full, complete change in a completely different direction, which doesn't happen as often, but it does happen. So for step 4, you're pretty much done if you're working with a fiduciary financial planner and you would just kind of relax and enjoy yourself. And then we would start working on the financial plan. And if you're doing it yourself, well, this is where you start putting all your numbers together to then create your own financial plan. And the financial plan is just really putting everything that we've discussed together in a way that's going to help you achieve the goals that we identified in step 2, using the assets that we identified in step 1, and then adjusting or adding to the course of actions that you already have taken in step 3. And when you put all of that together, you should be able to put a financial plan together that makes a lot of sense to you. And then that leads very nicely into step 5, which is just we present the findings. If we work on the financial plan, everything that we've discussed, it is your plan, even though we put it together, so we present it to you. Now, based on that feedback, we can either enact that plan or we can make tweaks to it. If for some reason you're like, you know what, I've been thinking about it, and even though I said at the first meeting that it was really important for me to retire in 5 years, I actually just got this promotion or I just got this new job or something has changed, and now I'm okay working for 10 years. Or the opposite is true. I thought 5 years or I thought 10 years was going to be enough, and I just found out that the company was bought out, so things have changed. So we need to maybe double the investments that I make so that I can be able to retire in 2 years, where I can retire in like half the time. There's lots of adjustments that you'll make along the way, but we present the plan to you and then we get your feedback. And then based on that, we have the plan that we're able to move forward with. And as long as everything's okay with that, that's exactly what we do. Step 6 is just implementing the plan. Once you have the plan is only as good as the action that you take on it. So we want to make sure that we're taking all the action that we agreed upon. The money that goes into the accounts that we already outlined in the plan, and they go in the monthly or the annual frequency with a certain dollar amount that we already agreed upon. We've already gone over all the likelihood of success based on historical averages and different things in the investments, and then we really just put that plan into place. We leave ourselves a little bit of wiggle room because things happen, right? That's the truth. Things happen. But as long as we have baked that into our cake where we're understanding that everything may not be rainbows and skittles all the time, but as long as I have the plan in place and I'm taking the action, I should be able to make adjustments. And then that leads us to our final step, which is step 7, which is just you monitor your progress. Along the way, things are going to change. Your goals may change. You may want a bigger house. Your family may change. You may have a larger family. Your income should change as you're gaining experience and getting promotions and things like that where you have more money. So you may want to maintain a larger lifestyle than you previously put in the plan. And then also things change with the market where we are investing in certain industries and those industries don't look as well anymore. Certain companies, things have changed where all of this needs to be re-looked at least on an annual basis. There's many people that we look semi-annually, quarterly. I probably wouldn't do much more than quarterly, but there are some people that maybe want to look at it monthly. But you do get monthly statements on your investment, so that is one thing. But as far as meeting with your actual advisor, you probably don't need to meet monthly. But if you want to meet quarterly just to kind of talk it out, well, that's always fine. But it's really up to you. But so you can meet anywhere from 4 times a year to 1 time a year. There are some people that maybe meet like 2 or 3 times every 5 years, but that's less common because our lives are changing so much. But you do have that flexibility and that option. If you're creating your own financial plan, then you should just want to look at it. I would say maybe every New Year's, right? Every New Year's, you just kind of look at it and say, this is how the past 12 months went. This is how the next 12 months should go. How am I doing as far as my projection? Am I still on track to be able to accomplish the goals that I set for myself? If you're not, you may need to make some tweaks. But if you are, then you may be fine. If you look at the fundamentals of the investments that you chose, even if you're slightly off after a year, but you still like your investments, then you should just stay because that ultimately means that you'll be buying your stocks at a discount or you'll be buying, if it's real estate at a discount. And so you should continue to follow the plan as long as you're comfortable with it, as long as the fundamentals still make sense in your plan. And so in closing, again, the 7 steps of financial planning are to understand your overall needs, your client's needs, identifying and setting goals, analyzing the current course of actions that we've taken, developing a financial plan, presenting the financial plan, implementing the financial plan, and then monitoring the financial plan. If you have any additional questions, I'm always here for you. Until next time, Wisdomites, remember, wisdom is asking the right questions to allow yourself to get the right answers. Keep asking those questions and you will keep getting those answers. Continue blessings.